Yeah, recording has started. So, hello everybody, and welcome to MSI weekly demo meeting. So today we have a bunch of pretty interesting updates. Today we'll talk a little bit, not a little bit, but actually we'll share statuses on in-store pickup implementation. It was this week brought us pretty much updates on the in-store pickup. So we got a few pull requests. And we're still waiting, guys, who will make a presentation of that pull request on today's meeting. But also we had a grooming meeting, and we discussed with Mark how like some problematic question and the issues we faced with during the implementation, and we will share with you update on that as well. And later we will talk on a bunch of performance updates because we have Ricardo who introduced an improvement for synchronization between legacy inventory mechanism and the new MSI inventory mechanism, where we put all that synchronization to the asynchronous implementation, and we don't supposed to waste time on that synchronization while any changes happen to inventory anymore. And along with that, Ricardo made quite a deep refactoring and improved the modularity of what we have. And also Richard will make us pretty interesting values on a performance comparison, and he also brought a pretty interesting idea and proposal how we can improve the MSI performance until the time we will have the support of the bundle product. So quite a lot of interesting updates, and let's start from Alex Kravchuk, who's currently joined. So Alex is the guy who's working on in-store pickup. So Alex, are you ready to share with us your updates?
Yes. Hello, guys. My update will not be long. Second, I will share my screen. Yeah, so currently we have 3 pull requests from the last week. First pull request is it's related to the adding of marking for orders which were placed with in-store pickup method. So today we have a grooming meeting, and so we decided which naming we will use for inventory in context of store pickup. It will be pickup location. So I refactored this pull request and changed it and have changed the naming to the pickup location. Pretty sure. It's a pull request of Maxim Novik. Hi, Maxim Novik is actually me. Well, in general, it's a small bug fix for pickup location search by postcodes, which is working offline. What is it about? Actually, there was no any filters which checks if the source is enabled. So I have just added it. It was very hard, but I did it. Yeah, and the last one is related about attribute join to the order collection. Actually, it's about extension attribute join. So as we decided that in 2.3.2 will be available bug fix for this problem, but actually we are going to use this in the in-store pickup. So we need to provide our fix in scope of the store pickup to use this feature. I have created a pull request based on the pull request to the Magento core. It's what it do. This pull request replace Magento order repository I provided interface and place it in inventory sales. I have review from Yevgen, and we decided that place it in Magento inventory sales, it's not a good idea because replacing of order repository require a dependency on the tax model, and we don't want to have dependency on the tax model in inventory sales. And currently we are thinking about some better solution how to play this, because the structure of get list get list method is not provides any possibility to add this line, this certain line inside of the original repository. So we need just to replace method. And probably we now have the best solution for now. It's just to create introduce new module which will be deprecated from the beginning, and it will just replace the original repository, order repository, and add this one certain line.
Well, I did not think about it earlier, but can we use an around plugin which never calls parent method?
I think it's a bad practice.
It's bad practice, but who knows? Well, any solution is really bad.
Yeah,
In this case,
there is no good solution.
The issue with around plugin is that we can affect another customization. So from the in the sake of like not to prevent affecting any other extension developers and third-party developers who introducing own pluginization for order repositories. It's much better and safer just to introduce own implementation and provide that implementation via DI, as you did. So we can know for sure that we are not affecting anybody else, and also along with that we are getting some performance boost, so that we are substituting the implementation, but we are not around pluginization, which are pretty costly from the performance point of view. So I believe the current approach is good enough. And the interesting part which Max mentioned is that the interesting part is that we already have that fix for 2.3 develop branch, which is gonna be delivered in 2.3.2, not 2.3.1, which is gonna be released on 26th of March, as it was announced a few days ago, but in 2.3.2, so which is gonna be released in probably 3 months or some. But we expect that we will release in-store pickup along with new release of MSI, which is quite independent out of Magento releases earlier. That's why we will provide the same fix in the scope of MSI. And in the scope of MSI, we would not be, as we are not eligible to introduce any changes to core code, so we are not eligible to introduce changes to order repository. So that what we will do, we will introduce our own version of order repository and just overwrite it via the DI preference. So this is pretty interesting part.
And what about dependencies?
What about dependency on what
Tax
kind?
and payment.
Yeah. So the thing which Eugen just mentioned, who is currently sitting just nearby me, we just had a quick chat, so maybe it makes sense to introduce kind of own service and use it instead of repository, so which would not use any dependency on either tax or anything else, because we really no need it in our scenarios. So we'll complete our chat probably after that meeting, and we will let you know with our what we came up with, so that we can discuss it after the meeting. Does it sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good. So it is it from our side. Thank you for attention. I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. And okay, so let's proceed then to performance updates. And not just performance, but also structural updates, because Ricardo had made a great job. Because like everything in MSI started from the small task and end up with a big refactoring, some modularity changes, introducing CQRS and the event sourcing patterns. So you never know whether the ticket is really small or it's just a teaser, which can, and you are, as soon as you assign it to yourself, you are in trap and you have to proceed with the big changes. So that happened with Ricardo again, and Ricardo will share with what he did during this week.
Yes, I think you're right, because we started with a very simple task and I ended up changing the house practically. So it was crazy. So the main idea, can you see my screen? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So the main idea was to improve the performance while saving one product, because as you know, and as Igor was saying before, every time you save something using MSI, basically you have to synchronize the legacy inventory, of course, because we want MSI to be backward compatible. But every time we have to wait, of course, an extra computational time, and we decided to move this process asynchronously. And when moving this process asynchronously, we decided even to change the modularity, because we discovered that basically we had to add, of course, another dependency to the inventory catalog. Of course, we were depending from the asynchronous operations. So we decided to create a new module that we named Inventory Legacy Synchronization. So basically, we moved all the synchronization logic that was mainly located in inventory catalog before through plugins. We decided to move in this new module, and of course through pluginization. And basically, this module can both handle this synchronously and asynchronously, and you can decide it through, of course, one admin settings. So we had even to introduce another module that is inventory legacy synchronization admin UI, because as you know, you had to split the admin UI modules as well as the front-end UI modules. And the new approach basically is in this module is actually this class. I think it's quite interesting, because every synchronization is basically centralized here. It's a class with a very fancy name, synchronize. And basically you can just call execute and specify if you want to synchronize from MSI to legacy or legacy to MSI, and you just have to specify the items you want to synchronize. And everything is executed synchronously or asynchronously, depending on what you set on your backend panel. And this is what I did. I'm still waiting for tests, because it's a quite deep modification of the modularity, so I expect some tests to fail. And I also had to introduce some backward incompatible change in inventory catalog, but I think they're very secondary, because they were related mainly to resource models. Because of course, most of the synchronization with the legacy inventory was applied here in some resource model in inventory catalog, and it is not correct to keep them in inventory catalog, because otherwise I had to make inventory legacy synchronization as one requirement for inventory catalog, and of course this is not correct. But I think they are quite secondary and they are restricted to some resource model. And yeah, this is all.
Thank you, Ricardo. Yeah, so we regarding the backward incompatibilities which Ricardo mentioned. So because maybe some of you would be like afraid or like shocked or panic because regarding the backward incompatibilities, but we discussed that actually all that incompatibilities are introduced in the mechanism of synchronization, legacy, and the new inventory, and most of that logic were in plugins. Uh, it was not literally just a plugins because it was services used by plugins as well, but these services used solely by plugins, so we can consider them as a one mechanism. So that we discussed it with Ricardo. So for the sake of better modularity and the sake and like having really low chances that these services could be reused or extended by extension developers. And especially some of these classes were marked precisely like this is a private code and so should not be either extended or modified by third-party developers. We agreed that we can afford this changes, and we will be releasing these changes, which, like, by the way, introduce one more additional modulus to MSI. So for those who count, it's gonna be 44th module to the MSI bundle. And this is pretty interesting update, and I with intent put Ricardo before Richard because Richard will now make some comparison, and also comparison based on the result. Probably it's not the freshest result on Ricardo's pull request, but the one which existed like a few days ago, but still it's pretty interesting from the measurement point of view and what values we currently have. So Richard, feel free to share your screen and tell us the story of MSI and the performance.
Yeah, just a second. I'll just yeah. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so basically we have a store with. First, I'll just tell you that I am working at an agency, so we have a lot of different customers. This specific customer has about 70,000 products. So whenever we enabled the MSI, we experienced a very slow page loads on category pages. Also, we experienced the issues that are already apparent with saving products. But yeah, here is a very beautiful Excel or spreadsheet with time to first byte for category pages. So I have made 4 different sections. One is the default section as it is now in the current release, which is, I believe, 1.1.1. So on this job with 70,000 products, a category page would take about 40 seconds to load on my local environment. If we apply our fix, which is basically to, instead of using a view as the legacy stock table, we have implemented a quite different trick, which uses triggers to update. I'll just show you in a minute. Then we pretty much take the half of the time off. If we take Ricardo's fix, I think I am pretty sure I pulled his changes today, this afternoon, so the code itself should be pretty recent. It'll take about 27 seconds for a page load. If we combine Ricardo's fixes with our fix with a legacy stock table instead of a legacy stock view, we get down to about 10 seconds page load. So with a little graph here, we can clearly see that we have an issue with the view here. Yeah, so basically we dive deep down into what MySQL was doing, and we observed that for each product we ran a query that took about 300 milliseconds. So we have some large categories, and of course those affect quite a bit. This is the query we found, and this specific join here, which I mark here, is guilty of most of the time-consuming stuff. So if I just go into our merge pull request, we basically just removed the view, and I'll just we basically just remove the view and create a new table. I'll just find this fills it. Okay, so we basically just create a table that contains all the columns that were present in the view, and then we just fill in data from the source table, and then implement triggers on update and insert and delete. So basically it'll always be up to date. I know this kind of solution is probably not the most widespread solution in the Magento community, but we just found out that we had a big issue here with performance, so this was the easiest solution to get going, in our opinion. Yeah. So yeah, we're not 100% sure where we should go with this. I think Igor, you proposed a change somewhere that we have to test also regarding performance. So after we've checked that, we'll have to figure out if this solution is the right one for now, or if we should go with another solution. We just know that we have to avoid joining the view because it affects performance so much. I think that was the grasp of it.
Oh, great, Richard. So yeah, so the main idea, like the one thing that Richard mentioned, and then that we like, because I was pretty interested to see that we have some difference between current implementation on triggers. So what literally Richard proposed to introduce, he proposed to introduce a mechanism which could be considered as a materialized view, where we have that real table which is updated with triggers. And like I expected to see pretty much the same numbers with what we currently have, because in many scenarios, especially on front end, we introduce a conditional logic, which is not really good, but that conditional logic introduced for us performance boost, like because we just eliminated the usage of MySQL view, and we find out that in that service, that class which I just shared in the chat, we still rely on the MySQL view functionality for default stock. So that it would be pretty interesting to introduce a quick fix here, so that we introduce kind of like conditional logic which will just switch to legacy index catalog inventory stock status, and make the comparison with the trigger-based solution once again to see whether we have this severe difference. Because ideally, from our perspective, it would be like, because we always consider the MySQL view as a temporary solution until we don't have proper support for the bundle product. So that we wanted to, as soon as the bundle support would be added, we will just switch it to the real index. And if you will see that the difference is not serious, we can proceed with that, just fixing this class. But if you'll still see that that we have like a difference between the trigger-based approach and the MySQL view, so that we will release the trigger-based approach as a patch release, and until the time that bundle product would be supported, because we don't want to affect the real merchant who started to migrate on Magento 2.3.0 and will be migrating on Magento 2.3.1 until the time when we'll have support for the bundle product. So we'll do the best way for the merchant from the performance standpoint. Just pretty interesting to see the whole picture and see like what the real performance degradation we have, and what the the best approach for us to choose now as a workaround. So if I'm not wrong, Richard already promised to play around with that and to share.
Yeah, I'll do it Monday.
Yeah, and this is really helpful for us, and we really appreciate your update, Richard.
Yeah, no problem.
And by the way, because you were playing around with pull request created by Ricardo, and his pull request, in general, it introduced a performance boost for the product save operation. So, did you have any scenarios and the testing on the product save in particularly?
I didn't get to that, but yeah, we were planning on it to conduct a test on that too. So maybe we can do that on Monday too.
Yeah, because in your initial pull request that you mentioned that you experienced some degradation on the product save operation.
Yeah.
So this is actually the pull request which is supposed to improve the degradation, and
Yeah.
but to get all benefits, you should switch manually to the asynchronous mode in a configuration.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also introduced some enhancement for the synchronous operation as well. Anyway.
So as I mentioned to Richard, slightly joking, that's probably the reason why most of merchants are upgrading to the patch version of the product which is released afterwards of the big major update. And this is pretty typical to MSI as well. That's why you see that we have a bunch of performance updates in a patch release after the major general availability release of MSI. Yeah. So, and this is really helpful, and this is really great to see the feedbacks on real use cases on real websites, and like the SKU database is also pretty good. So Richard is playing around with 70,000 of SKU on his store. So yeah, so this is pretty much a good case for us to consider. So now let's proceed further, and the next one gonna be Eugen, who will share with you update on will you use your mic or my mic? Your? So
Igor, you forget me.
no, we are not wrapping up yet, Lars. So we are.
Oh,
I always remember about you. So no worries, my friend. But yeah, so short update from Eugen, and we will switch to you.
Thanks.
sorry for that. Should be all good now. So I'll try to be brief. Just want to summarize yesterday grooming session because today we have more people, I think. So yesterday we had a blast grooming the store pickup feature for MSI and decided on few important points which would dictate the future of the project. So just to make it more fun, I'll share screen with some pull requests, but nothing special here. First of all, one of the decisions was to introduce the additional attributes to the store, which would be implemented as an extension attribute. One of them would be responsible for the source eligibility for this store pickup, and the other one would dictate the source type, which then consequently may be used for the source selection algorithm. We already have a pull request dated back to February, which we still haven't processed. I'm working on it now, and basically what it does, it already introduces in like some sort of this capability, but not in a completely desired state, so we'll be doing a review and getting it merged as soon as possible. The second one we have already seen today. This is about the marking orders with store pickup. This is like another decision. So implementation is going on here, and last changes were done like a few hours ago. So you see I still have like review requests, which I'll be working on after this meeting. Apart from this, we have during the grooming session we have decided on some of the business logic, mainly regarding the concern about shopping cart estimator. How would we integrate that into checkout and in-store pickup flows? So that went to UX and UI designers to figure out which would be the best ways to present it to the end user. So I hope we will get back with it maybe on the next meeting or in a few weeks with some complete mock-ups and maybe even some functional UI. So I think this is pretty much it from my end. I don't want to take up too much time. So now, Lars, it's your turn, I guess.
Thank you. So, last update from my side. You should see my screen now. Okay, and on the last hackathon, I was working on the decimal order incrementing bug. And yeah, I made a fix for that. It's not really a big fix, but it takes some time to find out what happened if we have decimal amount of quantity there, and we had some rounding problems. And I also add the test case there for this bug. Yeah, this was my update from the last hackathon. Currently, I'm working on issue and verifying the issue. I already acknowledged the issue because I can reproduce the issue. And for this issue, I have one update because it takes 2 days or 2 evenings to find out what happened there. The main problem is currently if you go in the backend and save a product with out of stock, like in the advanced inventory managed stock no, you must not assign sources. And is the product also assigned to a website that this website has no default stock like or order stock, then it breaks. You cannot order this item. You get an exception. 2 short updates why it happens. First, the indexer doesn't check for the items they are missing in the index table. If you take a look for this example, I have stock 4. Currently, yesterday I played a little bit around, but if you don't do it, it's completely missing the items. So this is the first bug. This is why happened. It's happened because the current implementation of the indexer asking the stock item table, not the legacy stock item table, but the stock item source item table can be empty. For if you don't assign any source to the product, this table is empty for the product. This is the first problem. And the second problem is we asking for is the product assigned to stock only for the link table, but this table is also empty if you don't assign a source to a product. Yeah, 2 short updates. I think it takes some time to implement a fix for this, but I already writing with Igor how we can solve the issue. Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Lars. Just a quick update regarding what's the root cause of the issue, or like what's the business value of the issue, which is Lars currently is working on. So this is the issue which I discussed with you, Mark, regarding that and actually that's the issue which was brought by the guys from the sales channel. We're making the integration of Magento with Amazon and Google Shopping. So that the idea here that currently in MSI we have a service which actually detects whether product is assigned to particular stock or no, based on the assignment of this product to sources. So to make the product appear on particular source, let's say if you have like several warehouses in Germany, in Italy, for example, let's say in Ukraine. So, and all of these three warehouses are combined in one European stock. So to make the product appear in the European stock, you should assign the product to particular warehouse. But along with that, we have products which could be configured as manage inventory false. So manage stock false. And from the merchant perspective, if merchant just specifies that he doesn't want to bother himself with managing stock, it doesn't make really business sense to assign this product to one of the sources because he doesn't want to bother to manage stock at all. So what it actually means for us that products which manage stock zero can't get to any of stocks till now. So what we agreed with that we have currently we have a workaround. So you can assign, so merchant still can assign that product with one of the sources, and the quantity for the product would be just zero. And we handle that situation, but probably this is not the real business scenario which we want to handle. So the main idea was to how we actually handle and how we determine whether product should appear on stock or no. So we preserve the source assignment, but along with that we choose we determine for all the products which have the inventory configuration managed source zero, we determine to on which website they are assigned to, and for this website assignment we add this product to the particular stocks. So we introduce in one more possibility how the product can appear on the stock level. So and this case is managed stock zero for the website assignment. So it's a little bit tricky, and it can sound tricky, but we stuck with that case for the sales channel integration, where we have the integration of Magento with the Amazon marketplace, so that some of the products handled by Amazon would be marked as managed stock zero. And we just want, guys from the sales channel track just want to introduce any assignment that product to any sales, to any sources we currently have. So that's why the fix which Lars currently working on would be pretty useful for the Magento and the Amazon integration. So you're doing a great job, Lars. So just push the tempo and continue this ticket, because guys from the sales channel track have pretty tough terms to release. So the deadline is really approaching. So you are the last hope. So this is probably pretty much all regarding the update. Just let me make a quick glance on our agenda, whether we have anything else to share with you. So yeah, the last but not least gonna be Tom, who will share with you the quality assurance update and what's the status of the regression we have on the MSI track, and whether we have anything new cool to share with you guys. So Tom, feel free to share.
Thank you, Igor. Okay, let me get my screen shared here. Hopefully we're seeing PowerPoint. Yep. Okay, great. So we'll start off, rather than running through all our metrics as usual, we'll go into a quality snapshot of the last week, just to give you an idea what our position is. So as Igor mentioned, the current quality position is that we are in a regression cycle, that 110 regression cycle. Ongoing, nearing completion, we're looking at hopefully within the next week. When that's finished up, we'll do sort of an overall breakdown of where that was and get a better idea of what our quality position is. All of our efforts have been focused around that right now, so we've not pushed on new test creation. So there is a backlog of new test creation that needs to be done post this. So in sort of, I suppose that would be April, there will be quite a lot of new tests created, or that we're planning for, and out of the back of what comes out of regression as well. So in looking at bugs over the last week then, so we had 6 issues opened in the project, 1 closed. Of those 6 issues, 3 were confirmed as bugs. 1 got closed out, but currently open then we have, mentioned on this call, 2097 and also 2087, so just 2 sitting open we expect to get resolved. In terms then more of a slight deep dive on where we are, automated testing we'll run through first then briefly because there hasn't been a great deal of change. As we see with our trends, since we started regression, all of the trending lines have flattened out. Again, in April, we want to tick those up again and add some more coverage. Automated test by severity, no change, and component, no change, but we will continue to report on this. So when we do add those in April, we will see this change as we go forward. The manual testing then, which covers this 110 regression cycle. So the manual testing is all of the tests, including those that are currently automated. So we're manual testing and automated testing, but this regression cycle of 602 tests covers even tests that are automated. So we have sort of a manual verification of those. Our component breakdown, and this is probably the most important where we are right now. So we're up to a total of 546 tests of 602 total. You can see there we have 507 passed, so the huge majority passed. I think that's a little over 90%. We've got 16 failures which have been logged. Several of those are outside of the MSI project and defects found in Magento Core, which are being handled as well, and we'll get those fixes back and retest these. But essentially this is where we stand with 546 complete and looking to hopefully finish that out within a week or just slightly over, and then we'll be able to do sort of a retrospective on this regression cycle. Otherwise, that's us for this week. If anyone has any questions, either ask now or feel free to get me on Slack.
Cool. Thank you, Tom. So looks like it's pretty much all regarding today's presentation. If there are any other open questions which you would like to discuss, this is the right time to raise this question. If no, we are open, either me or Eugen, who's still here. So don't hesitate to drop us a message or just a message to the MSI Slack channel. There are a bunch of people who will help you, or at least try to help you, as we usually do. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your time beyond contributing. Thank you for your passion and for your patience working with MSI. So see you guys in a week, and we will bring you even more fancy updates and the cool news from the MSI track. So thank you guys, and see you around.